Hello, guys. Hello, my lovely students. Welcome in your science classes for the first preparatory stage or first middle, as you like to say, here for this year 2025-2026. Here, I am Miss Shaimaa Hamdy Kassem, and I will teach you science in this series of lessons. First, I would like to introduce myself to you, to share some information about myself, as I got my bachelor degree from the science faculty, as I studied chemistry and geology. Also, I got diploma in biochemistry and chemistry, and I studied a lot of courses in teaching and training, teaching and methodology. So I teach science and chemistry for British and American, also Egyptian curricula. About my dream, that I want all students understand and love science and chemistry as I do. I love them so much, and I want all students to understand and love this subject because it's very important in our life. So before we start, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share my channel, as you see here. And are you ready for starting our lesson today? So we have here unit 1. It's about matter. In the first lesson, we have atom and the structure of the atom. So here, the agenda for what we will talk about today. First, we will talk about atom is a building unit of matter. Then we will discover the history of the atom. Then we have the third step that we will know the components of the atom. And the last one, the properties of the component of the atom. So before we start, we have to review what or revise what we studied before. We know that the matter is anything that has mass and volume. Volume means it takes up space. So if you see around us, you will see that everything around you is matter. How? As the air that surrounded you is matter because it has mass and volume. The water, the rocks, the buildings, even the table and the chair, all things that surround you is matter. And we know that we have 3 states of matter, as we have solid, as building, rocks, mountains, all of those are solid. Also, we have liquid like water, gas like the air. So those are the states of matter. And we also know that the matter is made up of tiny particles, which are in a continuous motion. As the matter is consists of tiny particles that all the time move. Okay, even they are in solid, liquid, or gas, all of them consists of tiny particles that in motion all the time. So now it's time to know the name of these tiny particles, as tiny particles have name, which is atoms. So we can say that matter is made up of atoms. Okay, and the atom is the smallest building and structural unit of matter. To understand this sentence, we have an example like that. Consider that this building, which are made up of the blocks, yes, building blocks, even it castle or home. So this is matter. And when we break it into smaller parts, as we see here, so we can break it more, yeah, to get the smallest building unit, which is 1 block. Can we break 1 block? No, it is hard to break 1 block. So one block is the smallest building unit in the uh, house or castle, which made of blocks. So let us put this example in a real life around us. So we know that the matter is made of atoms, and the atom is the smallest building unit of matter. As we have here, first example, air. Air is matter, and we can separate its components into smaller parts, like it is a mixture of gases like oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide. And we can separate or break its component furthermore to get the smallest building units, which are atoms. Like we have atoms of oxygen, yes, like in these blue ones, and carbon, which is gray, and we have atoms of nitrogen, which is in red. So those are atoms. We can't break it more into smaller thing. Okay, this is the smallest building unit. Also, we have example for liquid like water. Water is consists of smaller parts, as you see here, that oxygen and hydrogen attached together like that. Okay, but we can break these attachment. Okay, so we will get what? Yes, the atoms of oxygen and hydrogen. Can we break it more? Of course, no, because atoms are the smallest building unit. Here we have an example for the solid, as we have Sphinx. You have ever been to Sphinx before? You see it before? Okay, so we know that it made up of rocks. We can break down the rocks, okay, into smaller parts until we can get like a powder of these rocks. Yeah, and we can break it furthermore until we get the atoms, okay, as it consists of calcium carbonate. So it has atoms of calcium, carbon, and oxygen, okay? So we can get those atoms. Can we break these atoms more? No. So why? Because atoms are the smallest building unit of the matter. Here we covered the first part, which is atoms is building unit of matter. Now it's time to see the history of the atom. Yes, the history of the atom began from the ancient time. Yes, from a long, long time. In the ancient time, the Greek philosophers believed that atoms are small and indivisible parts. What the meaning of indivisible? Indivisible means can't be broken into smaller parts. So the ancient philosophers knew that the atoms are small and indivisible. After that, in the early 19th century, and 19th century means 100 and 1800, okay? So in the early 19th century, scientist Dalton proposed the first atomic theory. Theory means that he get the information about atoms, yeah, as he put the rules, okay, for that, okay, that the atoms are indivisible, that can't be broken into smaller parts. But in 1909, Ernest Rutherford, which is a New Zealand scientist, developed the first experimental model of atom. So here he do experiments that prove the atom and the shape of the atom, the model of atom. Okay, so let us know more information about Ernest Rutherford. He born in 1971 and died in 1937. he got the Nobel Prize. He is awarded by the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. As we mentioned, he is a New Zealand scientist, and New Zealand want to honor him for his effort. So they put his picture on the money, the banknote, okay, the currency of this country, okay. So here we covered the second point, which is discovering the structure of the atom, the history of the atom. Now it's time to see point 3, the components of the atom. As we said, that scientist Rutherford put a model for the atom by experiments, yeah? So here we see this is the atom simply. It has, like you see here, a big ball in the middle, and it is surrounded by orbits like that, and there is a smaller ball that surround the big ball in the middle. Okay, you see that it looks like what? Yeah, the solar system. As you see, the solar system, the sun in the middle, and the planets orbit around the sun. So here, this is the components of the atom. Atom is extremely small size. It's a tiny particle that we can't see by our naked eyes. We want to use microscope to see the atoms. But as it's very small, it has a complex structure. It's not simple, okay, as we imagine. So it has a complex structure. And as you see here, the big ball in the middle is called the nucleus. What is the meaning of nucleus? A central part, okay, we call it nucleus. Okay, so here the atom is consists of a central nucleus and surrounded by those red balls are called electrons. So we have two components here, nucleus in the center, and it is surrounded by electrons that revolve around it, okay, that orbits it. So we have two main components, nucleus and electrons. Nucleus and electrons. So here we covered this part, which is the components of atoms. As we know that the atom is consisted of nucleus in the center and electrons revolve around it. Here we have the last part that we have today, the properties of these components, the properties of the components, which is the nucleus and the electrons, okay? We will see the characteristics of them. As here, if we focus on the atom, we will see that the nucleus consists of two things like that. As you see here, green balls that have positive charge and red ones that has no positive or negative, and the electrons surrounded around it have negative charge, yeah? So let us see each component of them. So start with the electron. As you see, electrons surround the nucleus and they have negative charge, okay? And here, the nucleus has two components, which is proton, which has the positive charge. So proton has positive charge, as you see here. What about the red ones that has no charges, even positive or negative? This is neutron. Neutron is neutral. Neutral means they don't have any charges, okay? So don't mess that neutron is a neutral. Both of them has the same beginning, neutron, neutral. And proton start with the P and it has positive charge, okay? So here the nucleus has two components, proton, which has a positive charge, and neutron, which has neutral charge, neutral, okay? And electrons have a negative charge, and the electrons surrounded the nucleus. Let us go further. So we can put symbol for them. As to electron, we can put it E and minus like that, okay? So this is refers to the electron. And the symbol for proton, we can put P, okay? And the symbol for neutron, we can put N. And as you see here, it has charge. The electron has negative charge, so it has only -1, okay? And the P, which is a proton, has positive charge. So we refer it to the charge as it has +1, okay? And as we have known that neutron is neutral, so we can put the charge is 0 because it is not positive or negative. It's 0, okay? What we notice here about the charge of the electron and proton, yes, we noticed that both of them are equal in the quantity as they have 1, okay? Both of them have 1. And the charge is the opposite, okay? As electron has minus or -1 and proton has +1, okay? Okay, let us see another property. We saw the charge, okay? Now we will see the mass of each component. In the nucleus, we refer to the proton and neutron that they have the same mass, okay? And we refer for them as 1U. U means unit. We know that the atom is very, very small, very tiny. We can't measure the mass of the components by gram or kilogram or anything of that because it is very tiny. So we measure it by unit. We call it unit. So it has 1 unit for the proton and 1 unit for the neutron. So here, this is the mass of the nucleus. That consists of the proton and, yes, the neutron. What about the mass of the electron? Why we put here like question mark? Yes, imagine. Yes, let's guess. Is it 1 or smaller or bigger? Actually, it is very, very small. It is 1 over 1836 unit. Okay, so it's one part of 1836. So this is very, very small value, yeah? So the electron has, we can say, negligible mass. What the meaning of negligible? That is very, very small that we can't account it, okay? You get it? Okay. So here we studied the properties of the components as we have protons and neutrons in the nucleus and we have electrons around the nucleus and they have the symbols. Neutron have the symbol N and proton we can refer it to by P and electron by E and negative charge. What about the charge for each one of them? Yes, we said the electron has negative charge, the proton has positive charge, and neutron is neutral. We put 0 in the charge for the neutron. What about the mass for each one? Yes, the protons and neutrons are equal in the mass as they have the mass like 1U, but the electrons are negligible. Negligible means we can't account it because it's very, very, very tiny, very, very small. So here we have two questions that they are very important here. Give reason the mass of an atom is concentrated in the nucleus. Why the mass of an atom is concentrated in the nucleus? So the answer simply because the mass of electrons are negligible when compared to the mass of all the protons and neutrons that found in the nucleus. Okay, so because the mass of electrons are negligible. Okay, here we have another question. Give reason the nucleus of an atom is positively charged. So why the nucleus of an atom is positively charged? Yes, because what we found inside the nucleus, we found protons and neutrons. Yes, so we know that the protons have positive charge and neutrons are neutral. So here the nucleus contains positively charged protons and neutrally charged neutrons. So this is why the the nucleus of the atom is positively charged. Okay? Why? Because the nucleus contains positive charged protons and neutral charged neutrons. So with this information, we finished our part for this lesson today. So thank you for watching. See you next video inshallah, and goodbye.